I think this is a fundamental change.
Prolongation of the Constitution.
Hello and welcome to the 19th episode of The Evolution of a Nation, a documentary series chronicling Uganda's key political, social and economic aspects. I'm Bart Kakoza. In the previous episode, we saw the overthrow of Obote II government by the Okello coup of 1985. The attempts to bring together the various fighting groups. We ended the episode with the Nairobi peace talks. In this episode, we focus on the peace agreement that hit the snag even before implementation and the subsequent takeover of power by NRA. Thanks for joining us. Now, immediately after signing of the peace agreement in Nairobi, Museveni addressed the gathering which had witnessed the ceremony. He cited two pertinent issues. One, the possibility of returning the country to the rule of law. Two, whether the new arrangement would effectively bring about control of the various fighting factions, stressing that the two factors were his motive for fighting.
I want the world to understand this. The people of Uganda, the population, did not start violence. I was not a soldier, I was an intellectual. Why did I become a soldier? I became a soldier to defend myself and my people against state-inspired violence. People were killed in 1964. Our people were killed in 1966. Our people were killed in 1969. Amin killed our people from 1971 to 1979. Milton Obote killed our people from 1981 to 1985. And the military council has been killing our people even recently.
On 17th January 1986, the NRA launched the final offensive for the capture of power in Kampala, having realized that the military commission had failed to bring the troops to order and stop the killings. The NRA advanced on to Kampala, mainly from western Uganda, having won the major battles on Katonga Bridge.
I was part of that group that captured Kampala, and there wasn't much resistance. We were in Chabadaza during the ceasefire and peace talks, and then later, when things did not work out, we were given orders to advance. Of course, we had some resistance at Katonga, and after that, we continued. So we did not have really serious resistance at Impigi. We used to find some writings. You Wajinga, you will find us at Impigi. We come, we don't find them. Wajinga, you will find us at Busega. You come, you don't find them. So Kampala was, of course, approached from a number of prongs, from western, from what. And the resistance wasn't much, apart from Makinde and 7th Battalion and General Matayo Chargonza. And then I think Summit View under 11th Battalion and late Comrade General Shefari, General Tinyefuza approached from Hoima Road. And I think Monday, I think with 35 Battalion approached from Bombo. Then, of course, Entebbe Road. Entebbe Road, that's where we had serious resistance. 5th Battalion under Kashiringi had used the other route from Mpigi, connecting to Kisubi. Their mission was to block Entebbe Road. And they tried to do that, but somehow there was serious resistance because, as you know, the other side of Entebbe there was no any other exit route. So all the forces in Katabi, in State House, airport, they had to use all whatever they had to break through our lines, 5 battalion lines. And they came up to, I think, around Zana, towards Namasuba there. But fortunately enough, 3rd Battalion was a reserve battalion in Rubiri, so they reinforced that sector. They reinforced 5 Battalion, and they defeated the enemy. The way we were received sometimes, of course, in Kampala, we had not finished the mission, but then civilians come and mix up with you, which would create another challenge. But people were jubilating, people were excited, people were happy, and after that serious battle between Zana and Namasuba, the rest surrendered up to Entebbe. We did not find any resistance in it because we were walking from there to Entebbe when these guys had surrendered. They were all seated down and putting their hands up. I was one of those who went to State House, and I actually stayed there until the president and his group joined me. So there was nothing.
Having secured the major installations and substantial part of the country, including central and the entire western Uganda, on 29th January 1986, Museveni, accompanied by some of his top field commanders, confidently strolled to the parliament building and took to the podium to be sworn in as president of Uganda.
I, Yoweri Museveni, swear that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to the Republic of Uganda, and that I will preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution. So help me God.
The tension that had gripped the country for the previous months broke into chanting and jubilation. A new era was on the horizon, the promise of which was carried in his inaugural speech.
Nobody should think that what is happening today, what has been happening in the last few days, is a mere change of guards. This is not a mere change of guards. I think this is a fundamental change in the politics of our country. Because in Africa we have seen so much change that change has become meaningless. It's no longer change but merely turmoil. This group getting rid of that group and that group doing worse than the group it got rid of. Now, please do not count us in that category of people.
But beyond the celebrations, Museveni's government had to brace itself for the immediate challenging task ahead that can be summed up in 3 key points. Dealing with the retreating UNLA, which was still wreaking havoc in eastern and northern parts of the country. That made securing the stability of the entire country top priority. Fixing the tattered economy after 4 years of economic mismanagement, and containing a new mysterious disease that was creeping across the country, HIV/AIDS, then known as SLIM. Embarking on this was only the beginning of implementing the wider mandate on which the NRA revolution was built, the 10-point program.
it was our program we developed in the bush to show people this is what we intend to do. These are our objectives of the struggle.
NRM absorbed a lot of different peoples of different thinking. When we developed our 16-point program, which was eventually refined into the 10-point program, the thinking of all these different peoples had actually been taken on board on how best we can manage the country.
The political message of uniting the country, of developing the country on principles of mixed economy, taking a militant Pan-African line, all those issues began to come up. And the respect for human rights that we did emphasize gradually began to sink.
By the time of NRA taking power, Uganda's economy had literally collapsed. Not only was it characterized by shortages of basic goods and supplies, but also the national reserves had been depleted. The first attempt at making the badly needed essential goods available to the population was setting up a distribution system involving the village local authorities. This was done to eliminate magendo, a black market that entailed smuggling and hoarding chain, leading to inflated pricing.
The economy is now in turmoil because of these fellows. Business, something is sold about 20 times. Speculation, because since the days of Amin, the economy was twisted from production to speculation. Magendo. You get something here, it is sold 100 times. Each one putting you on a commission. This one sells this paper and he gets 5 cents. Another one sells it again. He gets another 5 cents. So it's now 10 cents more than it would have cost. So now the idea is any distributor should be accountable to the public as to what happens to the things he distributes. I'll just use the example of Ruero. Ruero has got, for instance, 20 gomboreras. So if you have received 1,000 bags of sugar, we distribute that 1,000 to, let me say, the 20 gomboreras, so that in Kapeka there is an agent who has been appointed by the resistance committees. The resistance committee in Kapeka sat and said, this businessman is a reliable businessman. We trust him. He's not like these others who are cheating us. They are the ones who select him, not we. They select among the businessmen there. They select the one they trust. And this businessman whom they trust, they send his name to the SDA, and SDA confirms that the people of Kapeka have chosen such and such businessman to be the one to receive the sugar.
The state-managed distribution system proved to be bureaucratic and inadequate in solving the supply problem.
We saw that in the first 10 months or so of 1986, we are continuing with allocating sugar by I think even President Museveni was involved in allocating sugar to ROCs and so on. And that just didn't seem to go very far.
In an attempt to circumvent the use of the scarce foreign exchange, the NRM gave a shot at barter trade as another approach to revamp the country's economy and develop it on a self-sustaining basis.
Well, it could have helped, but I don't think it would have solved the problem. Because we are bartering coffee with Yugoslavia, for example, and then they'll take the coffee and sell it. Anyway, I don't think we're going to drink all the coffee in Yugoslavia. So why not sell the coffee yourself and get a good price and buy what you want from Yugoslavia? If you are going to Muvende Road or what have you, it was just an inefficient way. But we soon realized that it was just as well to sell the products ourselves and negotiate on a common ground in terms of money.
And this is instrumental.
Besides, NRM government's initial negative perception of IMF and the World Bank policies did not help either.
They tried to do without them and without the IMF. And I think the result was not very good.
Controlling the run of inflation was in any case the reason causing market distortion and shortages, to the extent that between July and December 1986, inflation was running at 147% and the effective exchange rate had increased by 128%. As a result, the young NRA government had to swallow the bitter pill and seek the intervention of international financial institutions.
I think there was another realization that we needed assistance. And so sometimes it's not good to be very proud. It's good to admit that you need help. When you need help, I know some people don't like to go to doctors, but when you're ill, it's advisable to go to a doctor. So I think the first very important measure was the World Bank giving us $100 million, lending us, not giving us, $100 million of balance of payment support. That balance of payment support helped us to import goods, particularly what we were considered to be essential goods. We set up what was called OGL, Open General License. This meant that we had a list of what were considered to be very, very important products, blankets, soap, raw materials for manufacturing soap, salt, very, very essential items. And those were on the OGL list, and I was in charge of that program in the central bank. So we made sure that the essential imports would come in.
Now, the World Bank and the IMF loans came with a lot of conditionalities, which had to be met regardless of the expectation of government at the time. The reforms involved orthodox adjustment measures, policies to liberalize and stabilize the economy. Liberalization involved the removal of price controls, the institution of a free exchange rate mechanism, and allowing interest rates and foreign exchange transactions to be market determined.
The granting of the soft loan of $100 million as balance of payment support from the World Bank came with conditions, what you call conditionalities. One of the conditions was that we remove price controls. Government could no longer say that the price of soda is so much.
By liberalizing means eliminating the rent-seeking behavior, means prices being determined by the forces of the market largely, means if you go to the bank, you borrow, everybody borrows at the same interest rates. It makes efficiency. The fear people used to have that if you liberalize the capital account in the central bank, there would be a foreign exchange flight.
Currency control was another measure put in place to manage the galloping inflation. A currency reform exercise was instituted to mop up the excess money in circulation, and the shilling was subjected to 30% devaluation. In addition, 2 zeros were knocked off by issuing a new currency.
After Obote II had gone and this government had come in, ran the economy for a year, the inflation was still high. The prices, the highest denomination was still 5,000. And they wanted to rationalize the currency back to the East African level, where you had 10 shillings, 5 shillings, and 50 shillings, and 100 shillings. And that reform meant taking off a number of zeros. They rationalized the currency into the 10, 20, 50, and 100. But this rationalization was necessary because the currency had lost value. If there's too much money, the only way you can get it out is you deflate it. You deflate it either through taxation or through freezing. In this time, this time they said they are freezing part of the money, a percentage of the money, and that percentage was 30%.
The public was asked to present all the money they had in cash to banks so that it could be exchanged for the new currency. In exchange for their money, they would not only get smaller denomination of value, but also 30% would be taken off without a clear explanation. This threw the public into confusion.
Instead of exchanging currency, give you 100%, you got only 70%. 30% was frozen. Like you freeze an account, it ceases to operate. This money is taken out of circulation.
Yeah, but
it doesn't
where
exist.
does it go? Is it?
It's burnt, destroyed.
Some people say, oh no, people took our money and used it.
Yes, that's the common man's understanding, because it was called taxation.
Yeah, that's right.
So the understanding is that they took the money.
And burnt it.
But this was a monetary measure to reduce the amount of circulation, of money in circulation, by freezing. And they froze. The freezing means you return the money in the Bank of Uganda, and it doesn't exist in circulation anymore.
Restoration of democracy was one of NRM's 10-point program, implementation of which had already started in the bush by empowering the population in managing their affairs through the Resistance Council system.
When NRA was organizing itself in the bush, when they started with secret committees. On a village, there would be a secret committee of 9 people, led by an executive of 9 people, but all the villagers would be members of that secret committee for mobilizing food, for mobilizing medicine, for administering justice. If somebody steals somebody's chicken, where do they go if they cannot go to the Obote courts? Then they were taken up to the parish, then the sub-county. It became necessary for us to begin to reflect on how we are going to administer Uganda after we take power. So the political leaders who were in the bush at that time were appointed members of the National Resistance Council. After those other, as the top of the secret committee system.
And when we came out with the 10-point program, point number 1, we said the first solution to the country is to accept democracy, rule of the majority, and to hand power back to the population. So we handed back to the population. Each and every place, everybody participated, became a member of parliament to decide matters with the LC system.
Museveni's new government went ahead to establish a government of national unity, which included political leaders who even formally opposed him.
A government that involved all the parties. And I knew that we were not rhyming anymore because I had defied the instruction from them not to participate in Lutwa's government. So I didn't mind. But then when the announcement came of the cabinet, people heard I was Minister of Labour. They came running and said, "You've been appointed Minister of Labour."
The fundamental issue is not power too much at that time. The fundamental issue is the country has come out of war, too much damage, we have suffered enough. Let us have peace. Peace is above parties. Peace is about individuals. We all join hands in that.
My friend and I, Kafumbe Mukasa, sat and said, look, what we wanted to be done has not been done by us, but it's been done by someone. If something is good, it remains good whether it is you who does it or not. And we felt that there was no reason why we should begrudge anybody for doing good. Rather, we would give them our support. And that's how we joined them. Because I think the objectives that they were pursuing were genuine and good for the country. And the ending of killings of people, the end of state repression, the freedom of the economy itself. And mind you, I was pleasantly surprised that they took on market economy as the economic policy, because I have always believed in free enterprise myself. And so I found myself, both from a political standpoint and an economic policy standpoint, I supported the objectives. And that's why I joined it.
The first post-war resistance council elections were organized soon after, held in a simple way with minimal logistical requirements.
Ours was a running job. We didn't have ballot papers and ballot boxes. I think the first ones were in 89 or before. The other things were open.
88.
They were open, lined up. You run up behind your candidate.
From the lower village resistance councils, a new system of representation was created all the way to the national level, forming a legislative body that embraced people from divergent political leanings, the expanded National Resistance Council.
And again brought a number of people on board. It was one of our measures of, trying to heal the wounds, to unite the country.
Yeah.
I, Father Leo Mariamuza, swear that I will be faithful service to this council and support and uphold the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda as by law established. So help me God.
I, and I, Charles, swear that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to the Republic of Uganda, and that I will preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution, so help me God.
I, Kiriapao Kageni Loy, swear that I will give faithful service to this council and support and uphold the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda, so as by law established.
Hajat Asmin Chiaga Chitunzi Abwoli, swear that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to the Republic of Uganda, and that I will preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution. Yes. So help me God.
I, Ali Moses, swear that I will give faithful service to this council and support and uphold the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda as by law established. So help me
God. And from there, you remember, we moved to take a serious decision like a new constitution, constituent assembly. All these were done by the NRC, expanded NRC.
So, with that momentum, Uganda seemed to have been set on the right track. A time filled with optimism as the population embraced new political and economic changes. However, on the social front, a new health challenge was emerging, threatening to devour the gains and retard the momentum: HIV and AIDS. In our next episode, we shall look at the early days of AIDS and how the mysterious incurable disease was ravaging the country. We shall also look at the explosion of insurgencies to the north and the east. Thanks for watching, and see you then.